Good morning to every single one. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Water Network News, correspondent for Real America's Voice News and the Wendy Bell Radio Network. Two topics right here, top of the morning for every single one of you. How's everybody doing? Thank you so much for joining in. Share this video, like this video, share this video. It is a pleasure to be with you guys on this morning, on this Friday morning. We got a bunch of things to do today, so we are up and going since 5:30 in the morning, doing our things, and now particularly going to do a hit right now uh, with our network. Thank you so much for joining in. It is not only my pleasure to talk to you, but also it is a blessing to be, uh, you know, blessing for another day, a blessing to be right here, with you guys. So thank you so much. Nicolas Maduro. Who is Nicolas Maduro? Who knows who this guy is? Nicolas Maduro, it is a communist, socialist dictator. Horrible president, one of the most horrible presidents possibly in the history of humankind. And he can be possibly on the top 10, top 20 worst leaders of a country in the world, if not in the top 10. The guy basically has done nothing but, sacrifice his own people. There's people dying of hunger in his country, kids dying of hunger in his country, people fleeing his country consistently. And I'm saying fleeing his country consistently, as in the statistic was given out that more than 8 million Venezuelans have left their country from 2015. Look how the atrocity to humanity, and where's the United Nations? Where all of these humanitarian organizations punishing this man to leave power in this dictatorship? Uh, More than 8 million Venezuelans are spread all over the world. It's not only that they're into the United States. No, Venezuelan people are in Spain, are in parts of Europe, South America, Central America, Mexico, in other parts of the world. More than 8 million people from Venezuela have left their country, flee their country because of this communist dictatorship from socialist communist dictator Nicolas Maduro. And what he does now that the United Nations and international organizations, they don't have they cannot hide the truth anymore. Why? Because of the consistent arrival of Venezuelan people that they are leaving communism to every single country, in particular the United States of America, who they are arriving also right now at an enormous influx and consistent. And you have a lot of infiltrated individuals that they're bad people, and then they're good enough, they're good legitimate cases of asylum and refugee around the world. But ultimately, the problem is the acceptance of a problem. And Nicolas Maduro goes on a record and says, this is Joe Biden's fault. Joe Biden is criminalizing our country. He's criminalizing our people. And he consistently blames the past governments. He consistently blames somebody else, like a leftist communist dictator does. You're watching AMLO, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. A couple of days ago, he was again confronted in his morning conferences by and questioned by Jorge Ramos. And Jorge Ramos showed him with statistics from his own government that he is the most violent, insecure government in history in Mexico. And Jorge Ramos exposed that in the face of Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, our current president in Mexico. And by his own statistics, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, the president, that he's a leftist communist president, he did not want to accept that is the most dangerous government in history. With his own statistics, he's denying the truth. Now, with Nicolas Maduro, these are leftist governments fighting among themselves. Nicolas Maduro is blaming the Biden administration, and I am not a fan of the Biden administration. The Biden administration, it is the worst administration in terms of humanitarian, treatment and towards the immigration factor. is the most unsensible, administration in terms to immigration, and it is the most racist administration in terms to immigration. That is plain and simple. Inhumane, as Karen Jean-Pierre portrays herself as saying Ron DeSantis is that is the most inhumane. No, you are the most inhumane administration because of what you're doing with your open border policies, provoking incentivization for the organized crime to continue, taking advantage of the vulnerabilities of migrants around the world. Now, this is what Nicolas Maduro, socialist dictator, has said this, a couple of days ago. He said that because of the Biden administration, they're criminalizing Venezuelans, and it is because of their own fault that Venezuelan people are fleeing their country. And not only that, he adds to this, in addition to what he's saying, he adds this. He says, a lot of Venezuelan people are coming back to our country. Look here, you incompetent leader. If they're going back to your country, it is because they are being returned back to your country and they are exiting again. That is the number one reason why. And no, it is not a reality. People are not going back to your country. It is a complete lie of what these dictators they're doing to their. It is a crimes against humanity. It is crimes against humanity. And people do not realize these international organizations, they need to act firmly and directly against these people. These are crimes against humanity. The way that the people of Venezuela are fleeing their country, it is a crime against humanity. And nobody's doing anything about it. It's been done for years. There's an interview that I had in Spanish done by Manuel de Jesus, my camera guy down in South Border of Tapachula. And he asked one of the Venezuelan migrants, we don't have nowhere to go. We are going to whatever part of the world. And I will tell you something. In 2019, she says, there was a protest where you can see an actual military tank going on top of people, assassinating people, going through people. And we thought that, organizations from the world and countries from the world, after seeing that, they were going to do something about it. Nothing was being done. So after that, you get to realize, where do we live? Is this a reality? Are we living in a real world where they can torture people in front of cameras and in front of press and nothing is going? It is unbelievable what these administrations, these leftist administrations are doing to the world. It is unbelievable what these leftist organizations are doing. It's exclusively to leftist communist organizations, the leftist communist governments. What they're doing to their country, it is so inhumane. The treatment, it is inhumane, and nobody is putting an end to it. Nobody is putting some law and order to it. Nobody is addressing this. Yesterday, President Nayib Bukele was addressed by a person saying, do you think something is going to be done in the United Nations? And he says, no, it is only just president expressing themselves, but there's no action. It is the only man that is actually saying something that is coherent, that you're actually relating to the truth. Instead of speaking and consistently speaking to and preaching to the choir in the United Nations panel, why don't you actually do something with these dictators like the Venezuelan dictator? It is a reality. He is basically killing his own people. He's not giving not caring about it, human beings. And it is consistent. You're seeing an enormous influx of migrants from Venezuela leaving their country. Influx of migrants from Cuba leaving their country. Influx of migrants from Nicaragua leaving their country. And the president of Nicolas Maduro, the dictator of Venezuela, says this. President Biden, or whatever you want to call it, the illegitimate president, or whatever you want to call it, 46th president, whatever you want to call it, Joe Biden, he's only criticizing countries like Nicaragua. Nicolas Maduro says this. He's only criticizing countries like Nicaragua, Cuba, and also Venezuela. Do you know why he's criticizing? Do you know actually why he's doing it? All of these countries are communist dictatorship countries that they're actually destroying freedom. It's like Joe Biden himself. He's preaching to the choir, destroying his own freedom in his own country and destroying his own people and economy and this inflation that is the worst and possibly in American history. But in terms to what Joe Biden is doing, he's criticizing Nicaragua, Honduras, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and also Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Cuba. The three countries that they have dictatorship. He's preaching to something that he's actually doing, like a leftist does. They project to what they're doing and they project to somebody else. But it is amazing that Nicolas Maduro, the communist dictator of Venezuela, he projects also. It is a projection. Man, these leftists and their tactics, these are demonic tactics. Because of these demonic tactics, people are dying. Where are the crimes against humanity? When is this man going to be held accountable for all of the crimes that he's doing to his own people? When? And ultimately, nothing is being done. Sad thing about it that this man, it is continuing to be the president and leader of that country who, by just saying this, before 1996, Venezuela was one of the most richest countries in the world. Richest countries in the world. Unbelievable. We're going to talk about this later on today. And we're going to talk about not confrontation, what Jorge Ramos did in the morning conferences of the president. Jorge Ramos, which I don't agree with him at all in certain policies, in certain situations that he particularly betrays, and that he exclusively, he talks about. But and the only thing that I have agreed on is the way that he has approached the Mexican president. The only thing that I have agreed on is the way that he approached the Mexican president. And he approaches the Mexican president to talk about this is the most inhuman, insecure government in Mexico in history. It has become now the most insecure country in history. Insecure administration that has taken care of Mexico in history. With more than 126,000 people that they have been murdered, Mexicans that they have been murdered due to cartel and impunity activity in this administration. It is only 3 years, people. The past administration of Enrique Peña Nieto was on 124,000 Mexicans that they died under his government. This man has 126. It already surpassed the 2,000 more people, and ultimately it has 3 more years to go. Holy cow! At this pace, if he continues at this pace, it will be when he delivers power in 20. I don't even know, but for God's sake, let him go. But when he delivers power at this pace, the Mexican president will be delivering the country with 191,000 Mexicans dead due to insecurity and impunity. And these people that they support the fourth transformation, the transformation of Obrador, they're continuously talking about this. It's unbelievable. God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm Oscar Blue for Border Network News, correspondent for Real America's Voices and the Wendy Bell Radio Network. Thank you so much for joining in. We're going to be talking later on this afternoon about everything that is going on. Everything that is going on. Talking to you guys about everything that is going on later on this afternoon. God bless you all. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. Take care of yourselves, please. Take care of yourselves. And, follow my partner, Real Anthony Aguero. You can follow him at all platforms. Follow me as Oscar Blue at our platforms, as Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Getter, and also Instagram as Oscar Blue Ramirez. And also follow my brother, real chief investigative reporter of Real America's Voice News, Ben Bearquam. Follow him at Frontline America, and also Wendy Bell Radio Network, the best network for information. Also in Pittsburgh, Wendy Bell. Send a big, huge hug to Miss Wendy Bell Radio Network, and also to Mr. Brock. God bless you all. Stay safe, and like we always say, people, peace and love, because always your country's first. God bless.